Hi, and welcome to a next episode of Did You Know? This time, I am very excited to have a very special guest with me to talk about the four warriors at the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town. Sonwabile really impressed me when he was talking about each one of those four warriors with so much authority and knowledge that I asked him to be part of our next four episodes. So welcome to Sonwabile Maxebengula, who is a guide at the castle, and we're going to take them one by one. The four warriors in front of the castle, in front of the cut actually in the castle. So welcome, Sonwabile.
Thank you, Joreen, and good afternoon to you, and thank you for hosting me today. And also, I'd just like to say hello to the viewers.
Great.
Thanks.
Fantastic. We're going to talk to the guides mostly. So let's start with Doman. Isn't he the oldest one of the warriors?
Yes, Doman is actually is the oldest warriors, and we know him with his conflict against the Dutch East India Company officials under the command of Jan van Riebeeck. However, you must know that Doman might be recognized as the first freedom fighter, but one should remember the Battle of Table Bay in year 1510. However, Doman is basically believed to be born around year 1618, and he rather belonged to the Khorikhainqwa, which were the Khoi people that lived in the Cape Peninsula, and it is a community that changed its culture and became a trading culture when they noticed that the European sailors were in need of resources when they were rounding the Cape. So he grew up and here in the Cape, and he was under the likes of Ochumao or Ochumato, who's commonly known as Harry the Strandlooper. He then gained some channels to actually to be close to the Europeans under the Dutch East India Company. As a result, he then was sent to actually to train as an interpreter in Jakarta in Indonesia. And when he actually got to train there, that is when he got to be politicized. And then he had noticed what was happening in Indonesia, and where the Dutch had conquered or colonized most of the islands in Indonesia. And then he thought that these people were not here to actually to just to build a replenishment station. They wanted more, because if you remember to the instructions that were given to Jan van Riebeeck before he came to the Cape, the other one was that he must not come here to establish a colony. He must not molest or enslave the locals. So,
So in other words, Doman was there when Van Riebeeck came, and they made contact quite early.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They did, because one should remember that there were over 1,500 ships that anchored at the Cape before Jan van Riebeeck lived. So as I mentioned earlier on, that these peoples changed their culture, and they were now became a trading a community. And then and so he actually knew, and they were very protective of their grazing land for their livestock. And also when they found that the Cape was too windy, they would actually sometimes move, but not entirely move away from the Cape. It was just depending on the weather, but they were always around the coastline.
So in other words, you say that those people were basically not wealthy, but they had something that they could trade, or was he mainly looking, were they mainly looking at him as a translator?
Yes, there were people that could translate, because you must actually know from the times of the of the Portuguese, who were the first European nation to set records on the coast of South Africa as early as year 1488. So as I mentioned, that there were over 1,500 ships that actually had anchored there. So there was some communication. And one should also remember that the currency of them then was in the form of livestock. And also, the more you had, the more you were highly ranked. You had status in the community. So then he then was then taken to Indonesia. Perhaps maybe a Jan van Riebeeck had an interest because maybe of his wit, and also the way he had control over the people. We later see that when he manages to influence the Khoi people to set attacks on the Dutch East India Company. So maybe it was perhaps maybe Jan van Riebeeck tried to actually to persuade him to actually to bring him more to actually to the side of the Dutch officials. And you also, if you go to the diaries of Jan van Riebeeck, Krotowa or Eva is actually recorded saying, Grootbas, Grootbas, do not trust that Doman. Okay, do not trust that Doman, because that Doman will take what the Grootmaster says in this office, and then he will take it to the people. And on the other side, Doman is quoted saying that here comes the advocate of the Dutch. She will come to you and she will give you gifts and she will lie to you, and then after she will steal with you, from you.
So they didn't like each other, definitely not, apparently.
Yes, ma'am.
So his battle was then the battle of, what was his battle called against the Dutch? I mean, let's just see what he did during the battle and what was the outcome of the battle.
So upon his return from Indonesia, as I mentioned, that he came back politicized, and that is when Van Riebeeck was now moving further south and going as far as what is now called the Lispig River, where he planted the thorny almond hedge, claiming that this is now the territory of the Dutch. And he also started to free slaves and offering them land. And those slaves were known as free beggars, free blacks initially, and then they later became free beggars. So coming back here, he sees the changes, and also which is became testimonies of what he had anticipated while he was in Indonesia. So then he then mobilized Khoi people, but it was actually different clans that were located there. Here at the KP of the Kohokwas, the Hesekwas, and also the Gorokwas that were actually allocated. So he managed to actually to speak with them and try to explain what was the mission of the Dutch East India Company. So he set the first attack in 1659, and that is the first Khoi Dutch East India Company. And most people tend to think that it was the Khoi and the Dutch War, but you must remember the Dutch East India Company was a private company, so it was not the whole kingdom. So and they employed people from Germany, from Belgium, and some from the Scandinavian countries. So then Doman's tactics were actually were very interesting in a sense that he learned to know the weapons that were used by the Europeans, which is in the forms of cannons and muskets. And he noticed or identified that it was difficult for them to actually to use those guns during winter. So because of our Mediterranean climate here in Cape Town, he only would attack them. So he would actually just retreat and wait for winter to come, and that is when he would actually set his attacks, because it's raining and it's windy, and they were working with a naked gunpowder. So it's difficult actually to load the muzzles when it's raining and it's windy, and that is actually how he had planned his attacks on the Dutch officials.
That's very interesting. We can learn from Doman today. What do you think his basic message is?
Doman is a person who actually wanted to share everything, even with the Dutch East India Company officials, because he actually was part of them. And I think that we must also learn that there's plenty to have in this world, but people, they just want to be dominant and actually are dominant and selfish. And it's a term that a person welcomes you to his or her home, and then you just want to take everything. So I believe that we must take from Doman that we as men, we are all equal despite of the color of our skin, the shape of our hair, the ethnicity of our hair as well. So I think we must actually just take that from Doman, and also for people to actually to stand and fight for what they believe is right. I think we must just take that from him.
Sonwabile, thank you so much. It's wonderful. And let's, in the next episode of Do You Know, let's look at some of the other warriors. There are 3 more, so there are 3 more episodes. So thank you for this one. See you again.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you later.